I can't even put it into words how you feel when you've lost everything. You can't get that back. But what we did get was the grace of God through Rod Polston.
He cares about his clients. It's not a quick fix, how much you're going to pay me. He follows up, and that word spreads.
Rod's biggest asset is that he truly cares deeply for people and is there and available to help people.
Day in and day out, what this is about is sitting down in front of these people that have these tax problems and being able to tell them that we're going to go change their lives. The first collection action case that I had a guy come in, and he's called a roughneck. He's a welder in the oil field, and he was like, "Rod, they got me. They finally got me." And he started crying. You got to know how bad a situation has to be for a grown man and a tough guy, an oil field worker, to break down to tears. So I'm like, all right, I've got to help this guy. I've got to get him and his family out of that situation. So, went to work on his case, and I'm fighting the IRS. They're not cooperating, to say the least. I just decided one day, I'm like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of them giving me the runaround. I'm going up there. So I go up there, and I have it out with them, and lo and behold, I get the release. I called him first, and I couldn't get a hold of him, and turned around and I called his wife, and I tell her, I got to get to the payroll department and give this to him. If I give it to him, you guys are going to get paid today. And she was like, "We're really going to get paid?" And I'm like, "Yes." And she literally, I could hear her start crying over the phone. And at that time, you don't even feel like, I didn't feel like a lawyer anymore. It was like God had just dropped this thing in my lap, letting me know this is what I want you to do. And I knew I was perfectly situated to do it. This is where my heart and my passion and all of my training was. It was like everything came together all at the same time. This is all I want to do. These are the only people I want to sit in front of on a daily basis. From that point forward, it was my complete focus. I was born in Lawton, Oklahoma, and that's in the southwest part of the state here. My dad was a football coach, and my mom was an elementary school teacher. I went to college on a football scholarship and was coaching in Lawton, Oklahoma, which is a very competitive city for football. And then he went and coached. He was the offensive coordinator at Cameron University for 4 years. Then after that, he got into the insurance business. So at a very early age, sports, being competitive, playing football was an important thing to me. Rod was raised in a very competitive atmosphere. Coaches have quips and quotes: the harder you work, the better you get. Winners never quit, quitters never win. And he grew up that. We used to play pickup games in my front yard there in Lawton every single day. I started playing in 6th grade, and that's where I developed the majority of my close relationships, many of them that I still have today.
When I first met Rod, Rod and I played against each other. He was at Longfellow and I was at Central. And I was beating up on him pretty bad. And so Rod said, "If you can't beat him, join us." I was a pretty good quarterback, and he was a really good running back, and man, we'd be fantastic together. So they always said I recruited Tyrell, and maybe I did, I don't know. At that point, I decided that I think it'd be a good idea to come over and join forces with Rod. I mean, he's a great guy. Him and I got along very well. I liked his competitive spirit. So we started playing football together in 8th grade, and needless to say, we had a good year. The 4 or 5 years we played together, we probably lost 1 game. I think everybody from day one when we got on the same team was all about the same goal, and that was winning. And whatever that cost was to get there, we paid that cost. There was no other team like us. And I played football my entire life, and I have never, not since then, I've ran into a team that was more cohesive. Everything I needed to know about life I learned on a 100-yard field, because that's where my competitiveness has come from. It's where a lot of working through tough times, working through things. I played hurt a lot. Rod was always very focused. Rod wanted to be successful, whether he's running for student Congress president
Whether he was trying to make the first team in football as a sophomore, he would always kind of work his plan his work, whatever. In the insurance business or in the tax business, you got to have discipline. You got to do the right thing. You got to get up and go to work. You got to have a game plan, and Rod has that.
We used to chant the same thing whenever we got into a huddle, and that was want to. We had the more want to in our bloodstreams flowing through us. The more drive, the more determination to win.
You know, it was our solid group as seniors at that time, and you know, we went on and won the state championship that year, and that was a special time for me then. Still a special time for me now. That's where I learned so many of my life values, and you don't know it at the time, of course, but you know, I rely on those experiences all the time.
Everything that he's done on the football field, he has translated to what he does now. When I'm not on the football field and I'm working, I think about Rod Polston, you know, and he keeps me drive and motivation towards my goals and what I want to do.
We recently had a case that we resolved. The client came in, owed over $100,000.
You know, about 5-6 years ago, you know, we just went through a calamity of issues that really affected me financially. Went through a divorce. My son became very ill. A lot of bills mounted due to that. Business about 3 years ago went down the tubes due to the economy. I owed somewhere in the neighborhood, I think, of about $110,000, $115,000 in back taxes, and Rod was able to negotiate it down.
We were able to resolve the case for somewhere around $3,000. So I can tell you it's fun to be able to tell a client you just saved them $97,000.
I was relieved beyond measure. When you're going through this problem, I mean, it paralyzes you.
Lots of times people come in here thinking I'm going to judge them, you know, which is the most outlandish thing you could possibly imagine. I've sat in their chair.
They treat you with respect. I think, you know, they understand the situation you're in. You know, from that very initial meeting, it took a big relief off of me realizing that, you know, I had somebody now that's going to help me resolve these issues instead of me just trying to handle them on my own.
It's great to be able to help people when they come in with these huge burdens on their minds, and to call them up when we close their case and tell them what we've been able to achieve with the IRS, and to hear the relief in their voice.
That makes this whole thing worthwhile. We live in Oklahoma, so come springtime, you know, you're going to deal with tornadoes. This was a pretty bad one that came through, and it started in Norman on the east side of town here, and went right across Lake Thunderbird. So the next day, we're sitting there going through our list of clients, figuring out who lives in these places that you know, were affected by the tornadoes. And while we're doing that morning, some clients call in.
I remember getting a phone call from James, and it was a very kind of somber phone call in regards to their IRS case.
The only thing he was worried about was making his installment agreement payment to the IRS. And so he's asking Cammie, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to make this payment. She's like, why? And he was like, my house got blown away by the tornado last night. And he was like, I have nothing.
We lost everything. And that tornado came through and wiped us out.
Obviously, he had a whole lot more to deal with than just making a payment to the IRS. And I'm like, okay, we gotta help them out.
We just instantly decided that this is something that we wanted to do. I mean, it's something that we felt like God was leading us to do.
Cammie said, you know, Rod wants to help you. And I said, I don't know what he could do.
You know, this awful things just happen to these people, and you know, you try to put yourself in their situation, and we want to give them some happiness, give them some joy right now.
And they said, well, you don't have a place to live. What we want to do, Rod wants to do is to put you in a motel room and take care of whatever it is that you need for as long as you need it.
We kind of banded together as an office.
They all went out and they bought everything for both of them, you know, to use everything that they would need on a daily basis.
Part of us went to Walmart, and part of us went to Homeland and got all the food. And we met up at the hotel room and we got everything set up.
I want to put all this stuff in this room. I want to put balloons in there. I want this to be an awesome experience for them. They need some happiness. They need some joy through this situation.
We wanted them to be able to walk in, at least kind of feel some sense of home.
We never expected nothing from nobody. And when we came in that night and went to the motel room, we were just stunned. And then I seen these other envelopes laying there. We started opening the envelopes and there's a check for $500. And there's another check in there for $300. And another check, and another check. Rod had called his friends. And his friends had sent money to somebody they didn't even know. You can't even imagine what it meant to us and how it made us feel that this man went not to just the extent of helping, not just to the extent of bringing in food and personal items, but to call his friends and go, hey, man, I know this guy just got wiped out by a tornado. You want to help? All that money helped us get through until that insurance money started coming, and helped us to be able to start the rebuilding process of our life and start to rebuild our home. And I know that God's good. I know God didn't bring no bad, but what God did bring was Rod and his staff, and I can't thank them enough.
Since then, we've become really close with the Benedicts, and that following Christmas, they came in and they bought us a huge gift certificate to one of the local restaurants here, a really nice steakhouse. It was a cool deal for them, it was a cool deal for us, and we've just maintained a really close relationship with them.
The thing about Rod Polston is that he's probably the most honest and giving person I've ever known. He gives to everybody at church that needs something, and he'll just throw his wallet out anytime anybody needs anything, and I really appreciate that in him.
Rod's a big-time hunter. He's in it for the big deer, and he's hunting anything and everything, and good hunting buddy.
These down here, that's a Kansas bow buck. That is an Oklahoma rifle buck. That one is an Oklahoma bow buck.
And if you have a problem, you can go to Rod. He's going to do anything he can to help you out.
There is no such thing as quit inside of him, and I really admire him for that.
After I got out of high school, I went to college here in Oklahoma, got my accounting degree. Then I turned around and right out of college I go to law school. You know, I got right out of law school and was completely on my own. So I was literally self-employed, right out of the box. What I would consider a really good lawyer and was probably a terrible business person. I was young, I had no idea how to attract clients. No one ever taught me how to do it. I'd started another side business with my brother-in-law, and then I was even doing multi-level marketing at night. During that period of time, my brother-in-law I had helped set the business up. I had done all the tax and accounting. We were actually getting ready to the building phase of it. Well, he has a brain aneurysm and almost dies, goes into a coma. And I still say to this day, it was a nuclear bomb that went off in my sister's family at that time. All the contracts had already been signed, all the leases had been signed, money had already been borrowed. And so I'm trying to build this business, trying to run my law practice, selling multi-level marketing at night, and it was some full days. Almost went bankrupt through that whole process. You know, that was a humbling experience for me, because you don't go to law school thinking you're going to get out and turn right around and sit in front of a bankruptcy attorney. You know, during that time, I was probably working harder than I've ever worked in my life. I was doing everything I possibly could. And that's the situation with so many of my clients. You know, things have happened in their lives and they're doing everything they possibly can, and sometimes you can't work enough, you can't work hard enough, you can't work smart enough, you can't work long enough to get out of that situation. So I really understand what my clients are going through. You know, So many of them sit down in front of me on a regular basis, and they start to explain their situation as if I'm not going to understand it, and I already know it, I already understand it 2 minutes into it. So many of my clients, come in here and they tell me that, Rod, I just feel helpless. I feel like there's nothing that can happen. There's nothing that can change that in this situation. And when I hear that, I almost get excited knowing that that helplessness feeling is about to be gone.
We had gotten a notice in the mail that there was a tax lien that was put against my husband.
To the IRS, it's just a case file. It's just a social security number. To us, it's a family. It's a real life. It's a real person.
When he was married the first time and when he was divorced, there was some problems. There was taxes, which we weren't aware of. And then by the time that lien had been filed, he had Alzheimer's, and so he wasn't able to explain it.
I knew they were in an awful situation, and they were in a tough very tough financial situation when we took their case.
He was very, very ill, but he was so worried, and that was causing more problems because he was not even sleeping at night because we both worked really hard to get our land paid for, and then there's this tax lien and you think you might lose everything. We contacted Rod, we came over, and needless to say, he took care of everything.
Several months later, we're getting close to Thanksgiving, and my wife and I, we always help a family out on Christmas, and I was like, I really want to help a family out on Thanksgiving too. So we called the office. I said, any of our clients need any help? And they're like, yes, we've definitely got a family that needs some help.
My husband passed away. He loved the girls. He loved all the kids. All of our years together, he never yelled. It's amazing.
And I said, yeah, definitely, we want to help them.
And the next phone call we got was from them because they wanted to do anything that they could possibly do. She called me and told me, she said, we want to provide Thanksgiving dinner for you and your family. We know that you're going to have people there for Thanksgiving, and we want to be able to take care of all of it. And they did. With everything else that was going on, I didn't have to worry about all of that.
And then right then and there, I decided, knowing what they had gone through, I'm like, I'm not looking for another family for Christmas. I'm like, we've got our family. I'm like, we're helping them out on Christmas too.
They wanted to do something as a family. And the next thing I know is they call me and ask me if I'd come to the office.
But, it's Christmas, so Christmas got to be bigger.
And they had provided Christmas dinner, and Rod had gotten the girls a big screen TV. They've loved the TV.
They were renting a TV at the time, and that was too much money. So we got them a flat screen TV.
I did not expect it. You don't expect something like that, but they did, and it was amazing.
They left us a poem that one of the kids wrote, and it's one of the most amazing poems I've ever read.
A week and a half, maybe 2 weeks after my husband passed away, Shauna, one afternoon, she had been in her bedroom just, I thought, watching TV, but that wasn't it. She was writing that poem. She brought it in and gave it to me, and she said, I don't want to make you sad, but I wrote a poem to God for Daddo.
To God, days are sunny and skies are blue is the only time I think of you. My dad is gone and there are sad, sad days, but he's in heaven with glory and praise. He was the best man in the whole wide world. He loved us when we danced and twirled. He loved us all so very much. He hugged us all with a strong, hard touch. He gave us joy and laughter too. He loved everyone, especially you. Love, Shauna.
That poem meant 10 times more to me than everything that we bought for them times 1,000.
And all of them were so caring and so loving and so supportive, and they're just amazing. They still call and ask how we're doing, how we're getting, by, and I haven't ever seen anything like it.
It's easy for me to want to help out people that are trying to help themselves. When it comes right down to it, that's what our office is all about. Every day, day in and day out.
Probably the best thing about working here at Rod Polston's office is how we all work together as a team. We all rely on each other to work extremely hard, and we rely on each other to ensure our clients have the best outcome possible in their case.
We're a team, and we really are. In every aspect, I've tried to design our team with the best players at every position. And I think that's what makes us completely different than anybody else.
Basically, he's the coach. You know, he talks to most of the clients up front, and he certainly sets the game plan on all the clients. And if we run into any problems executing the game plan, obviously we go back and talk to the coach and find out, you know, what do we need to do to change strategies, or what could we be doing to ensure that we get the strategy done that he's put in place for the resolution on the client.
Every single level, you are going to have the best of the best in my office dealing with that certain area. That is all they do all day long, every day. They are phenomenal at it.
And we certainly play to that and put our best people in the best part of the case that they're the best at.
One thing that I do, I evaluate that person. When they come into our office, they're gonna take a personality test, and I'm gonna know from day one, what is this person talented at? I'm not gonna put them in something that they're not gonna be talented at. So we're gonna put them in an area that, you know, appeals to what they're good at and what they like to do. And what happens at the end of the day, our clients get a phenomenal product, they get a phenomenal result on their case.
I think we take pride in the fact that we feel like God has placed us here and that we are serving a purpose for God.
You're helping someone get through something that to them is insurmountable, and they don't know how they're going to accomplish it by themselves. And so you get to help them kind of get their life back in order and get through a really tough part of their life that they weren't sure they were going to get past and be able to move on from. So it's extremely personally rewarding to be able to do that for other people. And that was a big surprise for me coming here. I never knew accounting would be anything like that.
And it's a lot of fun.
We work together as a team, which makes every day so enjoyable. To be able to work with so many great people and to achieve such phenomenal results for our clients, it makes every day an amazing experience.
Everybody is a great team player here. Everybody works really well together, and it just makes it really enjoyable.
Everybody relies on each other to make sure all aspects of the case are done and prioritized appropriately. And because of that, there's a great sense of camaraderie, and we love working together. We don't mind putting in the hours here because it's just such a great environment to be in.
After you make that call, you have a sense of relief even then. Rod was so easy to talk to, and he listened to all of it, and he wasn't judgmental on how you got in this predicament in the first place.
He's going to go to bat for whoever's in his office whatsoever, whether it's a $500 case or a, you know, $500,000 case. He's a fighter and a winner.
He's just a good, upstanding Christian man that, you know, just real giving and, you know, just incredibly generous and just a nice guy.
When we broke the huddle, you know, we said want to. If Tyrell and I are talking to one another and we're having a tough time, you know, in whatever it may be in daily life, it may be in what we do for a living, you know, we'll end the conversations like, sounds like you need a little want to. And that's the approach we take here.